out to travel in a journey here with Alex and Ulli on relationships. And we noticed in our last show that we want to become more practical in these darker emotions and how we deal with them. For example, finding that we are jealous or envious, and then maybe how does that move forward into the relationship. I remember when I kind of first met you, I would be so in love with you that I would have kind of said yes to everything. And that's the easy part, in that very moment when you'll feel the love from inside out, that you feel you can give up anything. And in giving up anything, you might also forget where your own kind of values are, where you're giving up your individuality, your own way of expressing yourself. And that is leading us today to talk about envy and jealousy, two very strong emotions that turn up frequently in so many relationships. I went through so many jealous stages in my previous relationships. I don't know about you. Were you the jealous kind? I don't even know.
I basically was hardly ever the jealous kind. It happened maybe one time in a relationship or two times. It surprisingly didn't happen in my two longest relationships, which were about 10, 15 years long. It didn't happen. First, I think I hardly had a reason, but secondly, I was not really in love in that time. Maybe even I would have been happy if the partner I had at that time would have had some extra affairs so that I could more easily slip out of the relationship. It was kind of a weird thing. And jealousy first time really appeared in our relationship because I love you so much like I never loved a woman before. So I think then I'm easy susceptible for it.
Yeah, the kind of owning thing, right? I mean, it becomes a territory thing, like with dogs, and I'm more the envious type. I could be envious about you kind of mastering to speak calmly to other people, and envious about you being successful because I want to strive. And yeah, and jealousy was there a lot in my previous relationship, and it becomes poisonous. It becomes so poisonous at times when we let this come in. But what we really want to talk about here today is not the extent where it is already poisonous, envy or jealousy, but where can you mark where can you mark the other person in saying this is hurtful for me? Because we talked about like emotions should stay out of the growth of a relationship earlier.
Yeah, emotions should stay out of the way how you work on a relationship and how you make your commitments to a relationship. Let's say like that. There are emotions. Of course, the commitments are emotion based because for me, for example, let's come to jealousy. It's a subject that has come up recently, and I see that it's a very, very strong force. And I thought about it a lot and I dived into it a lot. So I dived into it intellectually and emotionally. So I still trying to see where my capacity is there. And this is the most important thing for me, that I see what is really in me and what is really the point where I cannot go farther. Or you see, I start to stumble here with the words because I'm still emotionally very affected by that and very in that. And for me, it's when I think about it intellectually, jealousy is not only poison, but jealousy is also originally, I think, it has a protective factor for the relationship.
Mm.
You want to protect your relationship, and maybe you have the feeling that it's a sign that your relationship has some difficulties and problems.
Oh yeah.
Always when you get these kind of you said it has to do with possession. I think it has to do with possession also.
Mm.
But it's also a protection. So it's very complicated thing. And the emotions coming out with this, I think they are the one of the oldest emotions in the world. You have the films and operas and Othello, and people kill each other, and so it's a very, very strong emotion. And you have to be very, very careful about yourself also. What is that? Where does it come from?
Yeah.
And I think there are people who are hardly jealous because it's in their nature, it's in their setup, it's in their emotional setup. And we all are a product of thousands of generations before that formed us. And so we also have to respect that. But yeah.
I have something to say here. I think the individuality is, no, what I loved about what you just said is when we become jealous, there is obviously you coming into a territory that is not clearly defined in the relationship yet. You know, it can be something like, can I smile at another man, me as the woman in the relationship, or can I think about somebody else? And all these kind of nuances that come with us kind of making the relationship bigger. And that's to be slightly in our individuality, but also to be in this couple bubble. And I think where we can start when we encounter jealousy is to see what is happening at that moment in time. Am I not clear in the relationship on what I really need from the relationship? And in America, they have these contracts. I mean, and I find that so absurd. But in some ways, I think we don't need the contracts, but we need the speaking about where we are in the relationship and what is possible in the relationship. Because I'm sure there's millions of people out there that have different ideas on how they want to live a relationship. I mean, we're classic. We're the boring heterosexual couple to our daughter who wants to be queer and pansexual and all these kind of things. And this new expression that is born into the world, into the next generation, of loosening some concepts that are damaging, like, you know, like the marriage can be so damaging, and it got really a bad shaking in our society. I mean, it was there to probably make people feel safe. And like you say, you want to be feeling safe in your relationship. And that means, like, you have to trust in the other person, but you also have to notice where the safety is just an illusion. That's what we're talking about, you know. So, and that comes back then to communicating what is shaking you, and is this something that can be redefined in your relationship, or is it too constricting for the relationship? Yeah, that's where I see what I heard you saying.
Yeah, it's again, it's a dance. It's a dance about around the restrictions you feel for yourself. The point that you won't go over that point. It's like, this is not the thing for me. Like you said, it's nuances, but it's also kind of you have to find your point. I mean, to smile at another one, to flirt with another one, to spend an evening with another person, also no problem. Generally, the jealousy comes in when it's going about sex with another one. That's normally where jealousy comes in. At least for me, this is the point. And so we have to talk about that, and to see up to this and further on. It would be critical for me it's not that I couldn't, I would rule it out, but in the moment I could not imagine that.
But that is very, I mean, as I said, we're in a classic defined relationship, the two of us. We're not in an open relationship. We got married, and we were both clear that we wanted that. But I'm talking about the jealousy of, you're at a party and you're flirting with somebody else, or I'm flirting with somebody else. And yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like this, I think the whole sexual thing, like is very clear to most people in the relationship, but what they misunderstand the damage in the relationship for is that they have a desire to sleep with somebody else, and then they think the relationship is broken and they need to move on into the next sexual relationship. But I think that we haven't engaged enough with each other to see where this is coming from. So when jealousy comes up in the finest nuances, this is the point where we can still redesign and rediscuss the relationship through shaping it and or actively speaking about it. And yeah, like having maybe rules around, like, yeah, you can flirt with somebody, but please don't do it just right in front of me, like be a little bit conscious or stuff like that. That I think is important because it helps, because we know that we are free beings in a free world, so to speak, still where we live. So hope you found this helpful. Click the subscribe button, hit the bell, as they say, so it makes ping when we come back to your YouTube channel. And yeah, have a beautiful day. Bye.
See you next time.
See you next time.